Now, I'm gonna bring you a little different perspective on racism, as far as racist comments. As far as racist comments, I'm going to bring you a little different perspective. Now, we always talk about racist comments being directed at the African American or Black community per se, a Black person. But there's also can be racist comments made towards other races as well, especially even in families there can be comments made. And I shared a video where, you know, uh, a Black woman had married a white man, and the mother-in-law of the husband kept making racist comments towards her. And so the husband ran off to stay with his mother and didn't stand up for his wife. And I'm hoping to see more comments, and the comments that you all put, they were very good, very thought-provoking. But I like one of the comments where the person said the stepmother got the mother-in-law got what she deserved. I like that because sometimes we have to think about we have to treat people the way we want to be treated, do unto others as we would have them to do unto us. And so if you doing something into this woman with racist comments, then she did unto you and gave it back to you. And you never can sanction people on how their comeback is going to be. And I say that a lot. And I remember saying that with friends and family, and they would look at me, some of them, not everybody, and look at me like, wow. No, it's not wow, because I'm gonna tell you something. You cannot tell me what my comeback is gonna be if you keep bothering me, and I've asked you to stop, and you're doing it in a way that's very inappropriate, it's vulgar, it's agitating, it's whatever you're doing is a clear violation of my space, I'm gonna say, or a violation of me directly. Then you cannot tell me what my comeback is gonna be. And so that woman, she didn't like the comeback that the daughter-in-law gave her. And the husband ran off over his mother's house and then step up, stand up and step up for his wife in that situation. Now, in this case, this is not a Black family. This is actually an Asian daughter and a white stepmother. And so, is there ever a case when a racist comment is warranted? Well, I don't think that's appropriate. Honestly, I don't. Now, people may disagree with me. I don't think it's appropriate at all. But if somebody comes back at you in a racist remark because you kept on and they've asked you to stop, hey, we can't, like I said, we can't control people's comeback. But I wish that this racist did not exist, period. I'm going to tell you the truth. I wish it didn't, because God does love all of us, and He really does. He loves all of us. Does He hate the sin? Yes, but He loves all of us. And when people start trying to act superior and using racist comments and remarks to try to bring people into submission or have a certain control over them, no, you are out of order and out of line. And that causes people to emotionally react to your actions. And so, anyway, the records from the United States Bureau of Census have found that over 1,300 new families are formed, as we talked about that, when it comes to this. And so I've given you that information, in a previous video. But with that being said, the Pew Research found that 19% of new marriages are between couples from different ethnic or racial backgrounds. And that's true. We see a lot of interracial marriages these days, which are producing interracial children or mixed children, as people want to say, mixed race children. And so there is a rise on new marriages where there is a different ethnic or racial background, and thus any children they have would be biracial. So, however, while the US is meant to be a multicultural country, records show that cases of micro and macro aggressions against minorities are far too common to be ignored. And it's a lot of micro and macro aggressions that still exist and still happen in our multicultural country. We see it. We see it a lot. We see it in politics. We see it on our jobs. We see it with employers, employees, out shopping, you know, police department, when they're out doing their job and the interactions that they have, we see it a lot, and it's not all police officers that do that, but, we do see it a lot in our judicial system. I talk about that a lot, about the disparities, even getting legal representation, schools. We see it a lot. And it's not just happening in the uh, public sector, you know what I'm saying? But and even in the communities, it can happen in the communities. But we see it even in families. And I don't think it's talked about enough, even in families, because I am very well aware uh, that, it happens in families and it leads to divorces, especially when you have given your spouse enough opportunity and you've had patience and enough patience and cries and woes and conversations about their racist family or racist comments coming at you, and your spouse doesn't stand up for you. And that's a very big problem in families. And I have witnessed it and have seen it. Uh, and it can be difficult. And and there's children involved, and children should never be made to feel that they are less than, that they're not important, that they're not valued. And when you as parents come together in a mixed mixed ethnic different come together, excuse me, in a mixed relationship where you are one race and your spouse is another race, and you have children from this union, what are you teaching your children if one of them is making racist comments and allowing their family, which is the in-laws of the other spouse, to endure this, and the children see it? As they get older, they start seeing things, they already feel things, and they start seeing things. What are you teaching your children? You're not teaching them that they are something, they're important, they're worthy. You're teaching them things to be ashamed of themselves, to not value themselves. They might even think that they're ugly, and that they are not important, and that you know society frowns down on them. There's a lot of things that children can perceive and pick up on if you have a spouse that's throwing out racist comments and then not correcting the in-laws and family members that participate in it, and also do it as well. Or you have a spouse that won't correct their family when they do it, and that's really sad. And when families go public with it, and also do it in front of the family members, and when the person stands up, they want to shun them and say they wrong and kick them to the curb, when in fact the person that was making the racist remarks and comments is the one that is wrong. So, we have to think about, our actions as parents, and we have to think about when we enter into these relationships and then into marriage, engagements, and then marriage, and then have children. You know, we need to think about how are we going to raise our children? How are we going, it's a lot of conversation that need to take place, not just with interracial couples, but also with couples in general. But this is, this is important that we have these discussions. So is there ever a case where it's warranted? Well, um, this 16-year-old is biracial. Her father is white and her mother is Chinese. Okay. Um, and we did see a lot of, and I've seen it. I don't know about you. It depends on your age group. But there was a time that a lot of soldiers, a lot of military white men would marry, Asians, and Chinese women, were married, they were married out of their race and bring them back to the States. And they would even marry Filipino women and bring them back to the States. And then they would have children. So their children are interracial. And we don't really talk about that and see that, but it's true. And so again, her father is white while her mother is Chinese. So, however, her parents separated. They didn't say divorce, but hopefully they did divorce, because the father and his new wife is she's white, and they are together. Um, and they are married, because it says that her father now has a new wife. So the problem is her new stepmother often makes derogatory comments about the author's race, about this young girl's race. She makes these derogatory comments. So the teenager states that she tried to like her father's new wife. So she makes an effort. She's making this effort to like her. But it became increasingly difficult the more the wife made racist comments towards her. Now, if you're trying to build a relationship with someone and they keep on doing things that are like putting up a wall, pushing you away, their behavior don't align with what you're trying to do to build the relationship, and they're trying to keep the relationship from being built. You know what I mean? That's just like if you trying to repair a bridge and cars are still driving over this bridge while you trying to repair it. It doesn't work. You have to shut that bridge down to make the necessary repairs. And so she's trying to build bridges, build a bridge to meet the stepmom, and the stepmom is really got up a barrier. She's not trying to build no bridge with her, you know, and so she's up here making these racist comments. And so um, the stepmom excluded her from the many pictures in the wedding, and when the teen asked her about this, the bride explained that she wanted a certain aesthetic in photos. So she just wants to show white because remember the father is white, you know, her new husband, the stepmom's new husband, and she's white. So she only wants to show a certain aesthetic, meaning she only wants to paint a picture that this is a white family. And so the teenager took it as though she just wanted to be white people. Like I'm taking it that way, a certain aesthetic. Oh, okay, what you trying to say? That I'm not good enough to be in that picture because I'm interracial, I'm mixed, and there are some my Chinese features may come out. Okay, so tensions were bubbling up over time until they eventually erupted at a recent gathering. The stepmother is pregnant now. Okay, so they're gonna have a white baby because you got the white mom, the white dad, so they're gonna have a white baby. And so the stepmom is pregnant. She had a baby shower a few weeks ago. Now listen to this. At the party, the stepmom commented about how the teen didn't look much like her father, and that it would be nice for the dad to finally have a kid who resembles him. Now, where did she get that from? Did he tell her anything? Because, see, again, we don't know what type of pillow talk that goes on between husbands and wives and girlfriends and boyfriends and partners. We don't know. We don't know what goes on and what's being said. That pillow talk can be detrimental to a lot of relationships when that pillow talk displays over into actions and certain behaviors, in relationships in the public and things like that. Even at church, if there's some pillow talk going on and all of a sudden the pastor's up in the pulpit, saying certain things, because the wife has said certain things. I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? I've experienced a lot of things, and so all I'm saying is that that's just an example. But what I'm saying is that we don't know what this man has told her, because why would she make a statement like that says he'll finally have a kid who resembles him? Now, that's a statement that is, I don't think she would have just came up with that statement without some type of conversation being had between between the father and the stepmom. There's some type of conversations would have, and maybe he had told her, my kids or my daughter don't resemble me, and I would love to have a child that looked just like me. You don't know what people are being saying, and then it could be the wicked west, ugly stepmom of the west or the east or whatever, wherever she's from, could be also just coming up with some things. But it sounds like there's been some conversations that have been had between the wife and the husband. You know what I'm saying? The stepmom and the father. And so this was the final nail in the coffin. And so she called her mother to pick her up. I don't blame her. I'm not going to live in a house where there's racist comments going on. I'm not going to put up with that nonsense because she don't have to. Because really, that's a form of abuse. It really is. It's a form of abuse when it's not addressed, but it's a form of abuse when it is happening. That's a form of abuse. And so the teen asked her father to intervene and have a conversation with the wife about her racist comments. Otherwise, she would no longer visit his home. And she did right to talk to her father about it. She did right to talk to her father. Now, the stepmother sent a text apologizing. So he talked to her. She apologized in a text, which is uh, not very personal. We do a lot of texting in social media world of the cell phones, right? A lot of texting. But if something like this that is that sensitive, it is better to meet up in person and say, I would like to talk with you face to face and to apologize for my comments that I've been making to you. are making. I'm sorry that it hurt you. That goes a long way to build the bridge that needs repairing, that bridge that needs repairing, instead of texting and saying, I'm sorry. And I can agree with the team that she didn't feel that this was good enough and simply doesn't want to talk to her stepmom anymore. Because to me, the stepmom needs to do it in person. Sit down, apologize. Let's look at each other. Let's see the facial expression. The stepmom is an adult, and this is what I'm saying. As adults, we need to do better. And so, because racism is never appropriate, like I said before, but you can't control the actions of others if someone decides to react to the actions of that person, but it's never appropriate. So, navigating, like I said, it can take an emotional toll, psychological, and things like that. And so, and it's hard, you know, it's really hard. And so, further harm can be made due to experiences of racism. And so, instances of blatant racism are a common reality for Asian Americans, but it's a common reality for Black Americans also. It really is, even though the article is dealing with, you know, Asian American and white race, but it still is a common reality for us as Black Americans in this multicultural country that we still experience racism at a very high level, high number, and it still goes on. And if you think about the George Floyd situation, what happened with him and the officer Derek Chauvin, and how they all these organizations and companies and hospitals start trying to scramble to put things in place after so all these years of them allowing people to be treated with systemic racism and with racist comments and remarks and biasness, and things like that. They rushed to put these things in place, but they failed to realize the damage had already been done to people prior to the George Floyd I can't breathe, death situation. And I just did a video on a man that couldn't breathe out of California, and that video was hid and they finally made it public. So what I'm saying is there's never appropriate time for racism, racist remarks and comments, but it happens all the time. And some people never recover from it. People have left jobs and they feel like they've been pushed out because of it, and things like that, and how they treat you and how they'll make sure somebody else is taken care of and placed in a position and you're not. Racism, man. Discrimination, man. Racism, discrimination, whatever those are two different things. We understand that, but we still talking about it because it is wrong. And so it's never okay, you know, and there's common reality for all of us. And research also shows that instances of racist harassment and aggressions are more often than not committed by white people. Can I read that again? Research also shows that instances of racist harassment and aggressions are more often than not committed by white people. This a new FBI report says hate crimes, especially against Muslims, went up in 2016. Now, this was an article back in 2017. Under it's the Vox, and this is a report that they're reporting on. And so if you want to read this article, it's vox.com, German Lopez, German.Lopez at vox.com. It's an article that was dated November 13, 2017. And that's even though that's an old article, and I know that there's updated articles here, but I'm just saying that it shows more often than not committed by white people. And white people may not want to hear this, and if you're not doing it, good for you. Thank God you're not. But if you are doing it, you need to check yourself, stop and think about it, and self-examine yourself. You know, oh, excuse me, self-examine yourself if you are doing that. You know, um, because it's not right. And when we think about all the things that have went on against, Black people and even Asian Americans, but Black people. And we haven't received any reparations, none whatsoever, about the things that we've endured as a Black society, you know, in this multicultural country. We have not. And we should. We should have something in place, laws in place to protect us, because we are a protected race. We are a protected race. I had an attorney to tell me that a few weeks ago. But we're not getting reparations for it, but we are a protected race, and there is no reason why we should not be more protected when it comes down to this. And you know uh when it comes down to what we have endured over the years and decades of what our family members and ancestors have endured as well. Um So anyway, the teen concludes her post by stating that while she loves her dad, she doesn't want to see his wife again. And if that means cutting out her father because he won't stand up to her, that's his choice. Well, yeah, that's going to be his choice, her father, because she's putting the ball back in his court, to stand up and deal with these racist comments that the stepmom is making. So that the ball, she put it back in his court. Smart move to put the ball back in your father's court. And her mother and stepfather support her, but her dad is very upset, and her grandparents on her father's side are also very mad at her. Well, um, so her mom has remarried as well, and the dad is upset, and he's got the paternal grandparents upset as well. They very mad at her, and the reason probably why is because they white too. Let's just tell the truth. They're white also, so they stand up with their son, because they can't see beyond the forest because the trees are standing in their way, and they can't see the beauty of multicultural. They cannot see it, so they won't only see who they are, but you need to see others. And this stepmom knew he had a interracial daughter when she married him. Before she married him, she knew. So it's a whole package when it comes to uh step families with children. It's a whole package. You accept my children or you don't. We don't move forward any farther. If you can't accept my children, then I can't accept you. Not in that manner. We can't move forward in the relationship or a marriage. I don't know how it got that far. She probably was saying racist comments even while they were dating, she was doing it. He knew it. That's why he's not standing up, because the truth's gonna come out and tell itself. The truth never needs no help. Because I bet you she was saying things to him while they were dating. And it'll come out. And that's why he's probably afraid to stand up to his wife, his new wife, because she might tell it. Well, you let me say this stuff before and you was right along with me. See what I'm saying? So what do you think? Leave your comments below. What do you think? Is the teen justified in cutting out her stepmother from her life, considering she has routinely made racist comments and aggressions towards the teenager? So what do you think about that? Or is it cruel to cut her father out of her life as well, simply because he won't tell his wife to stop saying things that the teenager, it's the Arthur, doesn't agree with? So you know what? My opinion, I don't think it's cruel. I think it's disappointing that the stepfather, the biological father won't step up and support her daughter and have this conversation as a family with the new mom, the stepmom, have a conversation, and it may even call for her biological mother and her new stepfather to all meet together, all meet together. That might be the thing to do, is all meet together in a neutral place or even at somebody's home. If they're willing to come to their house or their house and sit down and talk about this, because the daughter is going to have a sibling, a sibling. And so it's good for all of them, both families, with the parents involved, to come together, sit down and talk about this, because this is not good. Because you got the family, her father's biological family on this side that's angry with her. She wants to cut off the stepmom and not have nothing to do with the dad. No, not to have nothing to do with the stepmother and cut off the father, her biological father, and then her mom, biological mom and stepdad supports her. But then you have her biological father over here with his family going against her and angry with her. The the paternal grandparents. So both families and adults need to come together, sit down, and talk about this because making racist comments is very inappropriate. It's never appropriate, and the stepmom has some issues that that she needs to resolve. Some issues that she needs to resolve because why would you need to be making these comments anyway to this young woman? And you wouldn't want anyone making comments to your child, to your child. So let's just come together. And so they need to come together and try to work this out and be respectful adults about this for the good of the children. And it's always parents that seem to be acting out, and our children a lot of times will teach us and raise us up. They can teach us a lot of things on how we need to do things differently. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, raise up a child in the way they should go. They'll never depart from it. And leave your comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're not. And thank you all for tuning in and stopping by. God bless you all.